श्रीमद इस डिवाइन ग्रेस इसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शील प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य ब्यूटी फाउंडर आचार्य सेवर ऑफ द होल वर्ल्ड शील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस श्री श्रीमद इस डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी महाराज शील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा मैया यमुना मैया की जय। भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय। सामवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। पतित पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्री श्री रुक्मिणी द्वारकाधीश की जय। श्री श्री रुक्मिणी द्वारकानाथ की जय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय। श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय। शील प्रभुपाद की जय। शील प्रभुपाद ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam ततो जायामुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 22, The Marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti, Text 29 and 30. बर्हिष्मती नाम पुरी सर्वसंपत् समान्विता न्यूपतन् यत्र रोमाणि यज्ञस्याङ्गं विधुन्वतः कुशाः काशास्त एव शश What is the first one? Okay. Barhishmati naam puri sarva sampat samanvita nyapatan yatra romani yajnasyangam vidhunvatah. Barhishmati naam puri sarva sampat samanvita न्यपतन् यत्र रोमाणि यज्ञस्याङ्गं विधुन्वतः। बर्हिष्मती नाम पुरी सर्वसंपत् समन्विता यत्र रोमाणि यत्यसंगं विधुन्वतः बर्हिष्मती नाम पूरी सर्वसम्पत्समन्विता न्यायितं यत्र रोमानि यत्निस्नङ्गं विधन्वता बर्हिष्मती नाम पूरी सर्वसम्पत्समन्विता न यत्र रोमानि यज्ञस्याङ्गं विधुन्वतः. वैष्णवीस्. सर्वसम्पत्समन्विता न्यपतन् यत्र रोमाणि यत्र सङ्गं विधुन्वतः. बर्हिष्मती नाम पूरी सर्वसम्पत्समन्विता न्यपतन् यत्र रोमाणि यस्यङ्गं विधुन्वतः. I'll just read the second verse myself. Kushaha kashasta evasan shashvadvaritavarchasaha rushayo yaih parabhavya yajnadhnyanam yajnamijire. Word to word translation. Barhishmati. Barhishmati. Nama. Named. Puri. City. Sarva Sampat, all kinds of wealth. Samanvitaha, full of. Nyapatan, fell down. Yatra, where. Romani, the hairs. Yagyasya, of Lord Bore. Angam, his body. Vidhunvataha, shaking. Kushaha, kusha grass. Kashaha, kasha grass. Te, they. Iva, certainly. Asan, became. Shashvat harita, of evergreen. Varchasaha, having the color. Rasayaha, the Rishayaha, the sages, yehi, by which. Parabhavya, defeating. Yajnadhyana, the disturbers of the sacrificial performances. Yajna, Lord Vishnu. Ijire, they worship. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. The city of Barhishmiti, rich in all kinds of wealth, was so called because Lord Vishnu's hair dropped there from his body when he manifested himself as Lord Bore. As he shook his body, this very hair fell and turned into blades of evergreen kusha grass and kasha, another kind of grass used for mats, by means of which the sages worshipped Lord Vishnu after defeating the demons who had interfered with the performance of their sacrifices. Purport. Any place directly connected with the Supreme Lord is called Pithasthana. Barhishmati, the capital of Swayambhuva Manu, was exalted not because the city was very rich in wealth and opulence, but because the hairs of Lord Varaha fell at this very spot. The hairs of Lord later grew as green grass, and the sages used to worship the Lord with that grass after the time when the Lord killed the demon Hiranyaksha. Yajna means Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, karma is described as yajnartha. Yagyartha karma means work done only for the satisfaction of Vishnu. If something is done for sense gratification or any other purpose, it will be binding upon the worker. If one wants to be freed from the reaction of his work, he must perform everything for the satisfaction of Vishnu or Yagya. In the capital of Swayambhuva Manu, Barhishmiti, these particular functions were being performed by the great sages and saintly persons. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubheshcha Krupa Sindhubhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. I seek blessings of all devotees so that I can speak something glorifying Lord for all of your pleasure and for my purification. So we are in this chapter wherein yesterday we saw overview how Kardam Muni was presented by Manu, his daughter Devahuti, and the marriage took place, and now Manu is going back to his kingdom Barhishmiti. And in this last section of verses, there is a description about the city and what the king, that is Manu, and the residents do. So today in the purport, Prabhupada is speaking about how because this city was glorious. It was called a yogas, Pithasthana, because Lord Boar's hair, they fell there when Lord Boar came up and he shook his body. Some of the hairs, they fell down. So that's why the city is glorious. So if we have to see the value of something, we have to see it's in relationship with Krishna. So Prabhupada emphatically mentions that the city was exalted not because it was very rich, but because the hairs of Lord Vishnu fell there. And later in the purport, Prabhupada is mentioning about yajna artha karma, work done only for satisfaction of Vishnu is karma. It's mentioned as per Bhagavad Gita. So today we will discuss three things. What is karma, and how understanding karma leads us to understanding of Paramatma, and how this yajna concept should be implemented. We'll discuss these three things, and we'll also discuss a little bit of Govinda Ghosh, whose disappearance day was yesterday. So, karma is kind of very buzzwords. Even in English language, some words from Sanskrit, they have become kind of a norm, right? Like guru, mantra, yoga, karma. It's very lucidly used. So scientists, they can explain how things happen, but they can't explain why things happen. Simple example, rain. How rains are falling, they'll explain. The water gets evaporated, the cloud is formed, it's pushed by wind, and at certain temperature, the water becomes condensed and it falls. But they can't answer why cyclones are coming. They may say, okay, there is some low pressure atmospheric river flowing from north to east, and all that in the news, that guy keeps running around and then the screen keeps flashing, right? You have seen the news reporters, but they can't explain why. And that's where this concept of karma comes. And Bhagavad Gita very nicely explains, that how this whole thing works. So, when we are talking with somebody, especially newcomers, this can be very good starting point about karma, because generally everybody believes karma. Even on this, Instagram and YouTube's, don't see it if you have not seen, but those who have seen, there are these instant karma videos, right? Some guy goes on the signal and he breaks the signal, and immediately from nowhere the cops, he starts, flashing his lights, and it comes and they put some emoji, tang, instant karma, reaction, like that. You have observed, right? You have seen something like that, videos this scene, right? So that means somebody has watched you doing a particular activity, and you are held accountable for that particular activity. So then who is watching? So that brings us to the next point. That is, there has to be someone who is watching us all the time, doing our activities, keeping a note of it, and then accordingly giving us the result of those activities. So that's where the super soul or Paramatma comes in picture, right? So if you believe on karma, you have to believe on Paramatma as well, because that otherwise, it doesn't complete the full circle, understanding. So if somebody is going to give me the reactions of my activities, then somebody has to watch it. So who is watching it? So that's, again, Bhagavad Gita explains. Krishna says that as a Paramatma, I am sitting in the heart, Hrideshe tishtati brahmayan sarvabhutani, yantra rudhani maya, right? So whenever we are talking with new people, if they believe in karma, we can very well bring to this point that, okay, if you believe in karma, then there is this personality, supreme person, who has expanded himself in the form of Paramatma, super soul, in our hearts, who is watching these activities. And Prabhupada is here mentioning that if something is done for sense gratification or any other purpose, it will be binding upon the worker. If one wants to be freed from the reaction of his work, he must perform everything for the satisfaction of Vishnu or Yajna. So again, Arjuna, when he was, Krishna explains this Buddhi Yoga in chapter 2, he was thinking then, okay, let me just, perform, meditation, why I need to act. And then Krishna, third chapter, he starts with, no, Buddhi Yoga doesn't mean that you just, though Buddhi Yoga is higher, but for a spirit soul, we need to be active and everybody has to do actions. So then Krishna is speaking this concept of how this action should be done in accordance with, Krishna's desire. So we'll see some examples wherein apparently the actions are as per the scriptures, but the results are opposite. Whereas actions are not as per scriptures, but the results are, good. And then we'll see the reason also. So, see, this karma is very tricky, how it works. So, if we don't have Krishna in picture, however careful we may be, it can put us in trouble. So, first thing is that good karma or bad karma is bad only, because if it is not done in relation with Krishna, then we have to again come in this world to reap the fruit of that, either good activities or bad activities. So basically we are not getting out of this cycle of birth and death. So there was a king, if I remember correctly, it was Nahusha, who used to donate a lot of cows, right? So once he donated, say 1,000 cows to a Brahmana. Now every day he used to donate cows, So next day he donated, another set of 1,000 cows to another Brahmana. But what had happened in the night, one of the cow from this 1,000 group which he has donated to first Brahman came back to the king, and he did not realize. Now you just imagine, 1,000 cows, thousands and thousands of cow he had. So this cow went to the second Brahmana as a donation. Now the first Brahmana came, he said, hey, you gave me that cow, you took it back and you gave it to another fellow. The king said, no, I did not take, the cow came by chance. He said, no, I want that cow. Now the king went humbly to the next Brahman. He said, can you please give me back that cow? I'll give you 10,000 more cows in return. That other Brahman said, no, once you have given, you have given. So now these both Brahmanas are stuck on this particular cow. Now this king, all he had done was he wanted to do some pious activities and donate cows. Was there any mistake from king's side? Yes or no? No, apparently no, right? But now this cow went there, and now it is like, he is in between, and the result of that whole discussion, what happened? None of these Brahmanas agreed, and they both cursed this king. So, now though he was trying to do everything as per the scriptures, he got stuck. And like that, there are so many examples. Wherein, so this karma is very tricky if we don't keep Krishna in center, So, another example, in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, at the start, Yudhishthir Maharaj, he went to Bhishma and Dronacharya and Krupacharya. He offered their obeisances and he asked each one of them, please tell how we would be able to kill you. Because these three personalities were like, out of the world in terms of, their fighting capabilities. So Bhishma said that, I'll tell you later, And then Dronacharya said that, if I hear some credible news, some unthinkable news from a credible resource, that time I'll put down my weapons. And Krupacharya said, I cannot be killed, you just, go away, do your business, So, when, after Bhishma fell down on 13th days, 11th or 13th days, Dronacharya took as commander-in-chief, and he was fighting like hell, and he even captured, Abhimanyu, and Abhimanyu was killed. So, no way Dronacharya was able to stop. So, Krishna asked Yudhishthir, you go and tell Dronacharya that Ashwathama is dead. Now, Ashwathama is son of Dronacharya, he was son of Dronacharya, and Dronacharya has a lot of love for him actually. So, Yudhishthir was known as, the person who never lied. It's like, it is said that his chariot used to fly above ground, couple of feet. It never touched the ground because of his, he was Dharmaraj, the piety and, his adherence to the principles of Dharma. So Yudhishthir was in dilemma. Krishna is asking me to tell the, lie. That time Bhima, he was, those who know the personality as he was, There was an elephant known as, Ashwathama. He goes and kills him, on spot with one, big, hitting of his club. And he says, go now, you tell, Ashwathama is ready. If you don't want to speak lie, right? So this Yudhishthir goes in front of Drona and he said, Ashwathama is dead. And in slow voice he says, Narova Kunjarova. That means I don't know whether it is a human or elephant. But that time Bhima was also very shrewd, and Krishna, they blew their conch. So Dronacharya did not hear what he spoke, Yudhishthir Maharaj, whether it was elephant or a human. But he just heard Ashwathama is dead. And then he was very devastated, and it is said that, he dropped his weapons and he went to Yamaraj to check actually. There is a long story. But at that moment, Yudhishthir Maharaj's chariot came on the ground. So, some karmic commentators say that because he spoke lie, his commentators, his piety went and it came down. But the Acharyas, they explain that he was hesitant to speak lie, though Krishna wanted. That's why it came down. So here, apparent action of speaking lie, but it was due to Krishna's instruction, that became akarma, which won't cause any reaction. Another example, Bhishma Dev, he was one of the Mahajans. He fought from Kaurava's side. We may get a classic doubt, if he was a pure devotee, why he supported, Kauravas, who were adharmis, who were unreligious persons. But again, that was Krishna's desire, which he could understand. And so because of his, supporting the, unrighteous people, he should have gone to hell, right? Correct? As per the law of karma. But no, he did because Krishna wanted him to do. What was his end? He was lying alone on the battlefield, on the sharp arrows, and from nowhere Krishna came at his last moment when he wanted to leave his body. And he, that beautiful verse, Tribhuvana Kamalam Kamal, he remembering Krishna, how when he was throwing arrows and Krishna was rushing towards him with the chariot wheel in his hand, Bhishma Dev, remembering and seeing the beautiful form of Krishna, left his body. So though he performed this activity of supporting irreligious principle, because it was in accordance with Krishna's desire, he was saved. Rather, he was, his life was perfect, and that's why we glorify him as one of the Mahajans. So, it's said, dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhaya mahajano yena gata supantha. So, for us, it's very difficult to understand what is karma, what is akarma, what is vikarma, which of our actions are falling under which category. It's very difficult. So, the best way is follow Mahajan. And for us, Prabhupada has, Prabhupada is one of, that Mahajan, and he has given the instructions. If we just follow that, then our our life would be successful. Otherwise, on our own, to figure out this karma is very tricky. Another point, Prabhupada is mentioning about yajna. It means the work has to be done for satisfaction of Vishnu. So there can be two meanings of, yajna. One is, factual yajna, you do, swaha, Rabindranath Prabhu does on each festival day, right? For 2 hours we keep, doing. So that is factual meaning, but in broader terms, yajna meaning, like whatever activities we do, like the activities which are dear to us, which are, for our sense gratification, we offer that in service of Krishna. Like for example, ghee, grains, very costly, we need it, but we are offering it, and not only in literal sense that, but any other activity that we do. Now here also, if we don't have that Krishna factor in between, this yajna also becomes useless. In the classic example, when Krishna, Balram and cowherd boys, they were traveling and in the forest they were hungry. So Krishna says that, there are some Brahmanas performing yajna. You go and ask some food. Tell them, Krishna and Balram are hungry. So these cowherd boys, they go there and they ask, but this Brahmana said, no, it has to be offered in yajna. Don't disturb us, you go away. So these boys, very remorseful, hungry boys, they come to Krishna and say that no, they did not give us. So Krishna says, fine, go to their wives. They are my devotees, You ask them. And the wives, immediately whatever preparations were made to offer in the yajna, they bring everything to Krishna and Balram. So Acharyas, they explain, apparently the Brahmanas were doing the actual activity of yajna, but because they failed to serve Krishna, everything was useless. Wherein the Brahma Patnis, the wives of these Brahmanas, they went against the order of their husbands, which is against the order of scripture, but they served Krishna, they satisfied Krishna, so their life was successful. So if we don't have this serving Krishna, doing everything for pleasure of Krishna in center, then whatever activities we do, even apparent actual yajna performance, it becomes useless. But if we have Krishna's pleasure in mind, then even apparent so-called transgressions, like we saw in this case of Brahma Patnis, it became rather the glorious point in their life, wherein they served, they dedicated everything to serving Krishna. So to summarize, we saw that this verse is like the place is glorious if it is in connection with Lord. Prabhupada is explaining about this Barishmiti is glorious because not of his riches, but Lord Bore's hairs fell there. And then second point, Prabhupada is mentioning about this concept of karma. Karma is described as yajnartha. So we saw how karma is very commonly used, but when somebody understands karma, that means we can bring him to the point of believing in Paramatma as well, because he is the one who is keeping track of all these karmic reactions. We saw that how the karmas are very intricate, very difficult, wherein apparently somebody may be following the Vedic rituals, but scriptural injunctions, but he may get implicated. We saw the example of that king donating cows. We saw how Yudhishthir Maharaj speaking lie and how Bhishma Dev siding Kauravas. So how those who did it for pleasure of Krishna, like Bhishma Dev, he was still saved. And then we discussed about this concept of yajna meaning, in literal meaning performing fire sacrifice, and in broader term meaning doing everything, yajnartha karma, for work done only for satisfaction of Vishnu, doing everything for pleasure of Krishna. And we saw a classic example wherein despite the activity of yajna doing itself, this yogic brahmanas, they failed to recognize Krishna's presence and failed to serve them, because of which their yajna was useless. Wherein Brahmana Patnis, they transgressed their husbands' orders and they served Krishna and Balram, and their life was successful. So that was on this purport. Few thoughts. We'll discuss a little bit about Govinda Ghosh. So Govinda Ghosh, he was one of Lord Chaitanya's associate. He was brother of Vasudeva Ghosh and what is his name? So there were three brothers. It comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So he was famous for his singing and dancing, and also he was very much attached serving Lord. So his two brothers, Vasudeva Ghosh and forgot the other name, that they went along with Lord Nityananda, but Govinda Ghosh remained with Lord Chaitanya in Puri, serving him. So there are two famous pastimes from his life that once Lord Chaitanya asked him, mouth freshener after eating. That's called as, haritaki. So he immediately went and, he got some. And then Lord Chaitanya, again the other day asked, and, he gave it immediately. So he asked, hey, how within no time you gave this to me? That means you must have stored it. So he said, yes, I had done, I had begged previous day and stored it some. So he said, this is the mentality of a grihastha. You say, get married, So he asked Govinda Ghosh to get married. He was worried, but then he said, Lord Chaitanya said, don't worry, I'll be with you. So one day, he was taking bath in Ganges, he gets married actually, he was taking bath in Ganges, so something touches his feet. It was very, heavy kind of stuff. So that night, when he was sleeping, Lord comes to his dream and he said, whatever has touched to your feet, you bring it. So he was not knowing what to do. So he goes, he brings that. So it was Krishna Shila. And when he had just reached home, again Lord Chaitanya comes there and he said, don't worry, Govind Ghosh. There is one sculpture, he'll come and he'll carve a deity of Gopinath. And you please worship, this deity of Gopinath with, lot of love and care. So as Lord Chaitanya's prediction, the sculptures comes, they carve this deity of Gopinath and he serves it very nicely. And then, from his marriage, a son was born, but after the birth of son, both mother and son, they die immediately. So this Govinda Ghosh becomes very, morose and sad, and he was not able to serve Gopinath. So this Gopinath said, hey, why you are so, sad, it doesn't mean that if your one son is dead, you should stop feeding other son, you feed me. And then, this Govinda Ghosh, he says, no, but who will do my final rites? After I pass away, I had only one son and my wife is also dead. So Gopinath says, why you are worrying? I'll do it, And then, Govinda Ghosh becomes very happy and continues serving. And then it is said to till date. So this deity, I think it's in Puri if I am not mistaken. This Gopinath every year, he performs Shraddha ceremony of Govinda Ghosh. So they, those who know that in Shraddha ceremony, they use this kusha grass, they put it in the fingers and, perform offerings to Lord Vishnu. So today, and this same kusha grass, what is in this purport actually, which was sprouted from the, hairs where, Lord Bo's hairs were performed. So till date actually, in all the sacrificial ceremonies, we use this kusha grass. So they put this kusha grass on Gopinath deity and he actually goes on the bank of Ganges and performs Shraddha ceremony. So this is to show it's not that Govinda Ghosh was worried about his liberation or performance of these rites. This shows that how a pure devotee treats Lord in different rasas. Here, as a son he was treating, and Lord also reciprocates in the same way. So that was his disappearance day yesterday. He wrote 2 Vaishnava songs, very beautiful, and they basically describes his pain when Lord Chaitanya takes sannyas. When Lord Chaitanya has taken sannyas, Govind Ghosh was heartbroken. So let's all pray to his lotus feet that we get the same devotion he had for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Govinda Ghosh ki jai. So any questions or comments on what we discussed? Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you for the wonderful lecture. I really enjoyed the pastimes of Lord Krishna and how you're able to describe karma and how Krishna's instructions are transcendental to the reactions, cause and reactions. So my question is in regards to, we know when Krishna appears on this earth, he has his personal instructions. Now, 5,000 years later, or even 500 years after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have the bona fide representative of Krishna who has instructions. Can we say that the spiritual master, like we pray in the morning, that his instructions are Krishna's desires and instructions? For instance, like Sankirtan and Prabhupada saying that his spiritual master and the instructions coming down is that book distribution is the highest. Oftentimes you see even some devotees criticizing how we do books or things like that. But Prabhupada didn't seem to have any issue with it. My question is, can we say that this book distribution instruction is coming from, is Krishna's instructions, and that we have to be sincere and understand that it's transcendental, and not separate the spiritual master from Krishna's desire?
Okay, so first answer to first question, whether the instructions of spiritual master are they instructions of Krishna. So in principle, yes, because all, like, spiritual master, depending on time, place, circumstances, he is instructing his disciples so that they can come closer to Krishna and follow what Krishna wants to say. In terms of the second question about book distribution, some devotees having, like, whether it is Krishna's desire or not. So actually, yes, Krishna wants, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that one who preaches my message is most dear to me. And Prabhupada also says in many places that yes, book distribution is like my life, right? The scores, hearing scores gives me joy. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that that was the only thing Prabhupada asked us to do. When Prabhupada was asked that what will please you, he said, if you love Krishna, that will please me. So all these activities, yes, that is service we are doing. Book distribution is very dear service that Prabhupada wants us to do. We will do it to our heart and soul. But the goal is why we are doing it. So that, okay, we become a small instrument in transferring this mercy, like that Lord Chaitanya's story is there, right? All devotees went on Sankirtan, they were hungry. So Lord Chaitanya takes a seed of mango, puts in the ground, immediately the tree sprouts. There are a lot of mangoes without seed and without skin, only juicy pulp. And he said, now take it and distribute it. So we have received that transcendental mango and we are distributing it. Okay. So that is our service to our spiritual master. That's perfectly fine. But he also said, Prabhupada also said that just don't distribute book, read books. He said, so that's also service. He also says that, cooperate with each other. That is also service. He also said that, show your love by how you cooperate, and as well as he said that, what pleases him most, he said, if we love Krishna at the end of the day. Because certain activities we may not be able to do all the times. For example, see, there was a COVID. Of course, devotees were very innovative. They were still doing book distribution in terms of putting the books to the doors. But we may not be able to, see people in person. Or if suppose there is a curfew, curfew, right? There is some emergency. Police says nobody out. We may not be able to do that. Or if we are very old on our deathbed, we may not be able to do that effectively, as effectively we are doing today. But does that mean we are not following instruction of Prabhupada? No, Prabhupada also said that we develop, love for Krishna. So if we chant sincerely, hear sincerely, appreciate other devotees doing what they are doing. Somebody is very nice in deity worship, he's dressing nicely. He may not be able to go to book distribution because all day he is there, serving Lord. Can we criticize him? Hey, you are not following Prabhupada's instructions? No, that is also part of what Prabhupada wanted. He wanted temples to be nicely maintained so that after doing book distribution, those people who want to know and see Krishna, they can come, and when they take darshan, they get attracted to Lord. So this is a whole complete package. We cannot take one slice and say this is only. Yes, it may be our liking that I want to focus on this service, perfectly fine. But there can be other services also which are actually helping book distribution. For example, one day, during this book marathon, some new fellow came and, to temple, and then some devotee, they just asked him, you like temple, you like deities, you want to know more about Krishna, take this book. And they were so happy with the temple atmosphere, prasadam, they immediately took it book. So actually, one who is cooking in kitchen or, one who is dressing deity, so in one sense, they also helped in book distribution, right? Because the whole atmosphere has influenced that particular individual to get the book. So yes, we should do our best to increase book distribution. But at the same time, we should not thinking, I am great because I am going out. Pujari is not great because he is, staying in. Or cook is not great. Or, the devotees who are cleaning temple, they are not great. No, they are also doing their part, which is ultimately helping the same cause. Or fundraisers, Or for that matter, Govindas or gift shop. Whole day they are sitting there, but they donate thousands and thousands for at the end of the BBT or book distribution, right? So can we say they are lesser than the book distributor? No way. So it is a fine. So there are two ways. One is actual activity, and second is to see this whole picture. Getting my point? So to summarize, yes, Prabhupada wants us to do book distribution. We'll do it till our last breath, whatever. But he also said that, what really pleases him is that by all these activities we are doing so that we develop love for Krishna. Does this understand? Make sense? Want to add, Prabhu, anything? Want to add anything? You want to add anything? Yeah, on this? Because this is very,
I would say that's the glory of Kali Yuga is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yeah.
He's the one that actually he's Krishna himself,
Yeah.
Radha and Krishna. So he professed that we should spread this every town and village. And then I think that the spiritual master fits in terms of how to accomplish that goal. And we see that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he actually really instituted a lot of book distribution. And so Srila Prabhupada was his disciple, and Srila Prabhupada wanted to please his guru. And so he increased his book distribution, translating the books in the English language. So many languages from that. And Prabhupada used to say that this is the Brihat Mridanga, it's the great Mridanga. It's spread all throughout the world. So I would say that for us in Kali Yuga, this book distribution is the most miraculous thing that it could have ever happened in the science of spreading Krishna consciousness. So we should just follow that instruction and we'll be blessed. Very simple. You can see by just Prabhupada's desire how many languages there are. Thousands of languages, and thousands of these languages have Prabhupada's books. And everybody's receiving the science of Krishna consciousness. So it's spreading throughout the world. So I think that it's the spiritual master comes in terms of how to understand the message of Krishna, especially Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in our particular circumstance, and that was through the process of book distribution. Harinam Kirtan still goes on, that's very important. But in order to spread it profusely all over the world, it takes this book distribution.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So,
No, you.
yes, we last question.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed the 6 Goswamis. And you know the second stotra? Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipuno. The Goswamis compile all these literatures not to be in the shells, so just to be kept in a place.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, when all the books were written, Srila Jiva Goswami had 3 main devotees, Srinivasacharya, Narottam Das Thakur, and Shyamananda Prabhu, who were one of the first, you can say, book distributors.
Yeah.
And yeah, Swavas Prabhu mentioned Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, one of the first things he told to Srila Prabhupada, you are well spoken in English, you can go and give this to the Western world. So it's not an invention of Srila Prabhupada that he invented this. It comes from Krishna directly, from Lord Chaitanya. Right. And we're just following that. Now, as far as engaging in this Sankirtan movement, every individual person has his skill. So if someone is not able to directly go and distribute hundreds of books, they shouldn't be discouraged, because there's many other things you can do in Lord Chaitanya's movement. You can go and chant the holy name, and many people becomes attracted from that. So please be encouraged that just because you didn't do what one devotee or 2 devotees are doing, and what is the use? This person is being glorified, I'm not being glorified. I'm doing my little bit, but nobody even looks at me. What is this? So we should cooperate each other, to encourage each other, and everyone has that potential to spread Krishna consciousness. And in that way we'll go on. The spiritual master does not concoct anything. Prabhupada said at one time, I said, Krishna says, Sarva Dharma Parijaya, and I said, surrender to Krishna. Yeah. So Prabhupada is just repeating what Krishna is saying.
Yeah.
So again, so it's encouragement, you know. I really appreciate very much to, I wish I could be divided in 4 or 5 different times so I can go while one devotee is leading kirtan, you know, doing kirtan. In USC, UCLA, wherever you are, it's glorious. And it should be glorified too. I mean, we should encourage those devotees. Or someone who can just go and just talk about Krishna in college. He might not be able to distribute books, but just conveying the message. You know, distribute some card, do some invitations, and many other services that you already mentioned. So the Sankirtan movement is so important, and we're all important in this Sankirtan movement. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Okay. We have question. Last question. Okay, we'll take it already over time. Maybe we can discuss in person. Okay. Yeah. Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Bol.